Hi folks, and welcome to Schick Happens. Today's episode I want to talk about trophy bucks. Or, what is a trophy buck? Would this have been a trophy buck in your book? I found these sheds when I was mushroom hunting a few years ago. He's a trophy in my eyes, and later in this video I'll explain why. Take for instance these two bucks. Would you consider either one of these trophies in your eyes? A lot of people wouldn't. They'd call them scrub bucks or call bucks or whatever. And that's fine. This buck here was the first buck I'd ever shot in my life. It was 30 years ago. I'm more proud of this than anything else I have on my wall. That's a trophy in my eyes and always will be. This one here was my wife's first buck that she shot, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 years ago. And up until then, she had never even had an opportunity to shoot anything with antlers. And this one finally came out and she shot, made a very good clean shot, and I insisted we take it to the taxidermist. So these two here were two individuals' first bucks. And as far as I'm concerned, trophies. How about this little fella here? Is he trophy status in your book? Or should he have been one to have let go for 2, 3, 4 years, become a monster? Well, he's a trophy in my book because this is the first buck I've ever shot with a compound bow. I was extremely proud of this deer, and he's a trophy in my eyes all day long. Do you remember the sheds that I showed you earlier at the beginning of this video? These here? That was from this buck. Kind of an ugly looking thing to a lot of people. But there's an interesting story with this buck. And this is one that I harvested last season. We named him Grumpy. This particular buck here had been on our property and the surrounding public wildlife area for 3 years. We got him on camera. And he only had 3 legs. His 4th leg was there, but it was locked and cocked up into a 45-degree angle and he couldn't use it. And this buck, as far as we know on our trail cameras, made it 3 consecutive seasons through the gauntlet of public hunting in all the surrounding areas. He was getting along fine. And the wife and I decided at the beginning of last season, if either one of us get a crack at him, we'd take him because he was a trophy in our eyes, just for that reason alone. And we never gotten a daylight picture of him either. So that's why this buck is a trophy in my eyes, and we put him on the wall. These racks that are hanging up here, none of these are going to make the record books, by far. But these are all bucks that friends and family shot on my property here over the last 16 years. They could care less about antlers unless it was a real big one and they decided to spend the money on a mount. They just assume leave these here to adorn the barn with memories of deer they shot on this property. They're not huge, they're not trophies by a lot of people's standards, but to the friends and family that shot these bucks here on this property, they are trophies. Now, in some recent hunting vlogs that I've done on my channel, I have openly said that I'm looking for something with headgear. We already have a nice fat doe in the freezer, and we still have a little bit of meat left from last year. So we're certainly not under the gun to put more venison in the freezer just yet. But when I say I'm hunting for something with headgear, It's something like one of these two fellas. They might be huge bucks to some and tiny bucks to others. But I was very proud of both these deer and the hunts and the time that I put in to get them. These are both trophies in my eyes. Recently, the wife and I made a trip to southern Illinois to our good friend Joe at Capper Outdoors to visit him and his wife over the long Thanksgiving weekend. And down in his guest suite in their home, he has a bunch of really nice bucks mounted on the wall. And what I find fascinating about the bucks he has is the stories behind them. Just listening to him talk about how he harvested each one of those, I was just glued to listening to how those came to be. And to me, that's what a trophy is all about. It's not how many points it scored, how wide it is, how tall the G2s are. Is that particular deer being a trophy in the eyes of the person that harvested it. I mean, it's all subjective when you think about it. It really is. So I guess this whole video, or the point of this video, is don't get too hung up on numbers, what other people harvest, what they put on the wall, what they don't. Because who are you to say whether or not that's a trophy to them? Now, I know what some of you might be thinking watching this video, especially some newcomers to my site, is he's only putting this hogwash up because he hasn't shot anything big. And that truly isn't the intention of this video. It's simply to share with you that trophies are subjective. That's all. But just in case I get one of those people watching this that think that's the reason I'm putting this together, let me share a decent buck with you. This fella come off my property a couple years ago in mid to late December. This is one of the reasons why I don't go too hard during gun season, and I like to get out a little bit later after all the hoopla is come and gone from the public hunting area that surrounds my property to get a shot at something like this. Thanks for joining me here today on Schick Happens. This is probably one of the few, if only, videos I've put up without zero humor in it. But I've been wanting to put this video together for a long time. I go to a lot of channels, web pages, you name it. And I see fellow hunters bickering all the time about what's right, what's wrong, what you shouldn't do, what you should do. And they just seem to lose sight that we're all on the same team here. And if we don't stick together, these rights might go away down the road. But again, thanks for joining me here today on Schick Happens. If you enjoy this video, please hit the like button, share it, and if you haven't already, please subscribe.